I thought I knew what pain was, until I uncovered her lies. The woman I loved, the mother of my children, had betrayed me. But instead of walking away, I planned something darker. I made her feel the fear, the desperation, the cold grip of betrayal. I watched her world crumble, just as mine had. This wasn't just revenge. This was justice, served on a plate of terror. And as I watched her break, I realized this wasn't about forgiveness. It was about making her understand the true cost of her actions. Now, she knows. And so will you. The early morning light poured through the narrow gaps in the wooden blinds. Olivia Hammond turned to her side and took a moment to appreciate how the sunlight created patterns on her husband's chest. At 33, he was in great shape and definitely didn't fit the stereotype of a typical computer geek. She smiled as she noticed that he had thrown his arm over his eyes, blocking the sunlight. Olivia thought of Stephen as playful, like a puppy who could sleep anywhere. She glanced past him at the clock on the bedside table. There were 20 minutes until her alarm was set to go off. A sly smile crept across her face. She had just enough time for a little fun. Quietly, she reached out to him, happy when Stephen responded quickly. He stirred but kept his eyes covered, mumbling, "You're too much, my wife." "Yes," Olivia replied, moving closer. She enjoyed teasing him a little, letting laughter fill the room, loving how he always engaged when she initiated a playful moment. Stephen groaned jokingly, "You're quite a handful." "Maybe just a bit," Olivia chuckled. In a moment, they were wrapped up in their own little world, and Olivia enjoyed the way he took charge, shifting her position to feel as close as possible. With a smooth motion, Stephen adjusted their angle, and Olivia let out a happy sigh, feeling content and cherished. "I'm going to miss you, babe," Olivia said, facing away from her husband in the shower, enjoying the warm water. "You could always cancel," he suggested, scrubbing her back gently with a big loofah. Olivia sighed softly. "I know, but I really want to close this deal. If I succeed, it means a big bonus for us. Just imagine the fun we could have with that money." Stephen sighed, too. He knew it wasn't worth arguing about. Once, he had been the highest earner in their family, but now Olivia was doing exceptionally well. She was driven and ambitious, always looking for the next opportunity. "I know you'll succeed. You have a gift for this. Everything you work on turns out great." Olivia laughed, appreciating his support. "The gift of a banker, right?" Stephen responded with a gentle gesture of affection, and then it was his turn to wash. At the sound of Olivia's heels clicking on the floor, Stephen poured himself a cup of coffee. He set it down next to his 6-year-old daughters and winked at them. They giggled softly. "What are you two laughing about?" Olivia asked, leaning down to give each of them a quick kiss on the head before sitting beside Haley. "It's you, Mommy," said Hannah with a laugh. "Yeah, Daddy says you need coffee before you can do anything," added Haley. Olivia paused, holding her coffee cup gently. She looked at it as if noticing it for the first time, causing her daughters to giggle over their breakfast. "I think your daddy might be right," Olivia teased. "I'd better drink this so I can do your hair. Who else is going to help with that?" "Daddy." "No!" the girls squealed together. "Daddy can't braid hair." "And he forgot our ribbons last time," Haley chimed in. "Oh, the tragedy of forgotten ribbons," Stephen said in a dramatic tone, pretending to be very upset, causing everyone to laugh. With the laughter fading, Stephen got serious and encouraged the girls to finish getting ready. He often felt like he was trying to organize a flock of playful chickens. After the girls went to school, it meant Olivia was back at work. Stephen usually took care of getting them dressed and fed, while Olivia helped with the finishing touches like their hair before they left for the day. Unless he had an early meeting or something urgent, he took the girls to school since Olivia's office was in the opposite direction. Today was a school holiday, so Stephen didn't need to drive his daughters to school. Instead, he took Olivia to the airport for her flight to Melbourne. She was going there with a group of banking professionals to discuss a big deal that could be worth a lot of money. The girls were going to spend the day at the zoo with Mrs. Foster. Mrs. Foster had been a wonderful help since the girls were born. At first, Stephen was unsure about hiring someone to help Olivia with the children and the house because he grew up in a home with a stay-at-home mom. But Olivia insisted, She wanted to keep working on her education while caring for the girls. With Mrs. Foster living nearby and helping with cooking and cleaning, Olivia could study online and earn degrees in economics and business. Stephen realized that his hesitation was unnecessary. Olivia was a caring mother, even if she wasn't always hands-on, and Mrs. Foster was a great support. She looked after the girls when they were sick, helped with after-school care, and made healthy dinners for the family. Haley and Hannah loved her and thought of her as a kind of grandmother. While Olivia helped the girls with their hair, Stephen tidied up the breakfast dishes. He didn't think it was fair to leave the mess for Mrs. Foster. Just then, he heard the back door open, and he smiled. Mrs. Foster had come just on time. After kisses and reminders for the girls to behave, Stephen grabbed Olivia's overnight bag and headed to the garage. It felt heavy, but he didn't say anything. Olivia always packed for every situation. The garage was dimly lit, but Stephen didn't turn on any lights since they wouldn't be there long. He put the bag in the trunk of their SUV and opened the passenger door for Olivia. She got in and placed her briefcase and handbag on the floor. As the garage door opened, Olivia started chatting. "I wonder if that coffee shop with the bicycles on the wall is still there on Berkeley Street." "I don't know. It's been about 7 years since we left. A lot can change," Stephen replied, feeling a bit uncertain at the mention of their past in Melbourne. Olivia kept talking, not noticing his mood. "I hope it's still there. They had the best coffee. Their muffins were amazing," she laughed. "Maybe I'll treat myself to one." Since having the girls, Olivia had become very careful about what she ate. This meant the whole family was careful too. Poor Mrs. Foster had to adapt recipes to meet Olivia's low-carb meals. Stephen tried to smile, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Should I bring one back for you? I remember you loved the raspberry and cream cheese muffin." "Yes, I did," he said dryly while driving. "But you definitely helped me move on from that." Olivia's smile faded for a moment, but then she brightened up. "Well, maybe I'll find you a new treat. It'll be a surprise." "I'm sure it will." As they neared the intersection to leave their quiet neighborhood, Stephen slowed the car and turned on his indicator to go right to the airport. "Change of plans, Stephen. Turn left," a gruff voice suddenly said from behind them. Both Olivia and Stephen jumped. Olivia turned around, while Stephen gripped the steering wheel and hit the brakes hard. The car skidded before stopping. "Who are you?" Olivia shouted, looking at the man. "What do you want?" Stephen yelled at the same time. "One question at a time," the stranger said, clearly enjoying their fright. "Who I am, your worst nightmare, what I want? Well, that's more complex. You should be asking why. Why should you do what I want?" "Why?" Stephen said, holding onto the steering wheel tightly. "2 reasons. I have a gun, and also, I have your daughters." Chaos erupted as Olivia screamed and Stephen struggled to unbuckle himself while reaching for the intruder. The man just sat back, grinning. "Are you done now?" he said dryly after they fell silent. "How do we know you have our daughters?" Stephen asked. "They're at the zoo with Mrs. Foster," Olivia added boldly. "Are they? Are you sure of that?" the man replied, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. Olivia noticed that he wasn't hiding his face much. Her heart raced, worried about what might happen to her, Stephen, and their daughters. 2 cars pulled up behind them, honking their horns. "Better move. Turn left." "Why? Where are we going?" "When I'm ready to tell you, I will," the man said, pressing the gun into Stephen's side. "Now turn left," the man ordered sharply. Stephen obeyed. "Now give me your phones, slowly. No tricks." He stuffed them into his vest, making it bulge. Olivia swallowed hard, imagining what else might be hidden in its pockets. "And your other phone," he said, snapping his fingers at her. Olivia tried to look confused, but it didn't work. "Stop pretending, miss. Hand over your other phone. The one in your briefcase." Olivia placed her briefcase on her lap, opened it, and took out the phone. She held it up to him, not daring to look at Stephen. She could feel his eyes darting between the road and her, making her nervous. "You have another phone?" Stephen sounded upset. "Now's not the time for that, Stephen." The man in the back chuckled. "Right. Now's not the time to question why your wife has a second phone." Stephen glared at him in the mirror. "Now's the time to listen. I wouldn't want anything bad to happen to your daughters." "They're out for the day. They left when we did," Olivia replied defiantly. "I think you're mistaken." "Mistaken, am I?" the man asked, lifting his phone to show her. He pressed a few buttons and handed it to Olivia. As soon as she glanced at the screen, her heart sank. The man had their home number, even though it was supposed to be private. Panic rose in her chest when she heard Mrs. Foster's voice. She sounded scared and shaky, very different from her usual calm self. "Hello? Mrs. Foster, it's Olivia. Oh no, I'm so sorry, they have us. Oh no, they have the girls." Olivia dropped the phone as if it burned her. She let out a cry of distress, surprising both men. "They have the girls, Stephen!" she exclaimed, her body trembling. Stephen pounded the steering wheel. "What do you want from us? We're not rich or famous." "You have enough resources. Now give back the phone, miss." "What do you want? Just tell us," Olivia pleaded, handing the man the phone. "We'll do anything. Just don't harm our girls." "That's what I want to hear. Now, Stevie boy, drive us to the National Australia Bank on Liverpool Street." Olivia and Stephen exchanged worried looks. That was their bank. "So, how much do you have saved?" the man asked. Stephen opened his mouth, but Olivia spoke first. "Around 250K, give or take." Stephen closed his eyes for a moment, holding his breath. "Have you forgotten your promise to do anything to save your daughters? Because you just misled me." Stephen watched as the man shook his head. "Let me see. Oh, right. $322,054.75. Is that correct?" Olivia nodded, her heart racing. "Yes, that's right. No more fabrications, Liv, or I might think you don't care what happens to your kids." "Please," Olivia begged, wiping her tears. "Don't hurt them. If you follow my instructions, your daughters will be safe." Olivia nodded, more tears slipping down her cheeks. The man frowned. "Clean yourself up. You'll need to make a withdrawal, and we can't have you looking distressed." Olivia nodded and fumbled through her bag for tissues and makeup. Stephen kept quiet, glancing nervously at their captor in the mirror. The man caught his gaze twice, making Stephen look away quickly. In his side view, he saw Olivia applying makeup under her eyes. The drive was tense, filled with their uneven breaths and city sounds. The air felt thick with worry. Only the man seemed calm. As they reached Liverpool Street, Stephen searched for a parking spot, his hands shaking a little. The man laughed at him, making Stephen frown even more. Silence fell as they all looked at the bank across the street. The man opened his door, prompting Stephen and Olivia to do the same. They stood on the sidewalk, waiting for directions. "All right, miss. It's time to get the money. Don't alert anyone, understand? No secret signals or strange actions to raise suspicion. If anything goes wrong, you won't see your daughters again. Got it?" Olivia nodded, taking the briefcase the man held out to her. She felt tears welling up but blinked them away. "Got it." Her voice was shaky, but she tried to sound stronger. "Got it." "Wait, I just remembered," Stephen said as Olivia moved closer to the curb. "For withdrawals over 50K, we need 2 signatures." The man looked at Stephen, studying him closely, as if trying to determine if he was being truthful. "The same goes for you, Daddy. If I think you're trying to pull something on me, things could get complicated for your girls." Stephen nodded quietly. "Relax, man. 320K is a small price to keep your little ones safe," the man chuckled. "Right?" Stephen nodded again. "Right." He took the briefcase from Olivia and checked for traffic before crossing the street. They had to pause halfway. Once they reached the other side, he looked back at their captor and nodded once. Inside the bank, they approached the counter. Stephen frowned as he watched Olivia struggle to fill out a withdrawal slip. Her writing was barely legible. Without saying anything, he took the slip from her and tossed it in the trash. He grabbed another slip and started to fill it out. After that, he handed the pen to Olivia, noticing her hand was trembling. A glance at her face told him she was very stressed. "Take a few deep breaths," he gently said. "We can't mess this up. Think of Haley and Hannah. They're counting on us." Olivia nodded, biting her lip. She took the pen and signed. Tears filled her eyes. "He's going to take everything we've worked for." Stephen shrugged. What could he say? "Why us, Stephen? Why now? Is your company involved in any sensitive work or contracts?" Stephen thought for a moment. It was a good question. He worked in security software. Finally, he shook his head. "Nothing that would cause this. What about you? Have you had any deals go wrong or upset someone? Anyone at your job unhappy about your promotion?" Olivia looked troubled. A few tears slipped down her cheeks, and she tried to wipe them away quietly. I don't know. Takeovers often lead to people being let go, and some in my team are upset because I got promoted. But this? Taking our girls? I can't believe it. She hid her face in her hands, overwhelmed. I just don't understand. Stephen studied her. He worried she wouldn't be able to manage in front of the bank teller. Go back to the car. I'll take care of this. If they see you distressed, it could cause issues. She didn't. With one last grateful glance, she left, not looking back. Taking a deep breath, Stephen joined the line. Here, we've done what you wanted, Stephen said, giving the man the briefcase. Now let us and our girls go. The man looked around before fixing his gaze on Stephen. Funny how I don't see anyone who can tell me what to do. His expression turned harsh. We're done when I say it's over. Got it? Stephen pressed his lips together and nodded. The man turned to Olivia, eyeing her critically. You don't look so good, sweetie. Whatever happened to the strong negotiator, the one who gets things done? Disappointing? The man laughed mockingly. Not doing so well under pressure, huh? Olivia dropped her head, looking defeated, something Stephen had never seen in her before. How does it feel to lose everything you've worked for? He taunted. Olivia's head snapped up, looking crushed. Stephen wrapped his arm around her protectively. We haven't lost everything, he replied softly. Money isn't everything. We still have the girls and each other. Wow, such wisdom, the man sneered. You do what I say and your daughters will stay safe. But we did what you asked. Stephen started. But wait, there's more, the man interrupted, mimicking a popular commercial. Stephen cringed, bracing for more demands. What else can we do for you? You've taken all our money. What more do you want? Oh, this is an easy one. I need you to make a delivery for me. Stephen and Olivia exchanged confused glances. Why had this man kidnapped them for a delivery? We're headed to Market Street. Stephen started the car, which roared to life. He maneuvered into traffic, trying to turn onto Pitt Street. The traffic was heavy, as it often was in the city center. They moved slowly, and Stephen thought they could have walked faster. At Bathurst Street, he turned right, then left onto Elizabeth. As they drove past Hyde Park, neither he nor Olivia noticed its beauty, but their captor seemed to... You might want to spend some time in the park during lunch, missus. Maybe think about your choices in life, he said. What do you mean by that? Olivia snapped, turning to glare at him. Easy now. It wasn't hard to find out why you moved from Melbourne to Sydney. Someone was a very naughty girl, I think. Stephen flinched, and Olivia was shocked. She glanced at Stephen, who was focused on the road. That was a long time ago, and Stephen forgave me. We worked through that. You shouldn't bring up our past like this. Oh, but I can. This gives me a lot of power. You should remember that. I'm not just someone who works for you. And by the way, your coworkers don't think much of you. I wonder why that is. Maybe it's because you've stepped on too many of them to get where you are? Or maybe it's your tough attitude? Olivia chose to ignore the insults. Defending herself felt pointless. Working in finance was tough. She had to be tougher than the men to be taken seriously. After Melbourne, she made sure to keep being competitive at work. She looked at Stephen. She understood his pain. The man's comments about Melbourne affected him deeply. The way he held the steering wheel, the tightness in his eyes, everything showed he was struggling. Seeing his silent suffering made her forget about their daughters for a moment. She hated that her actions hurt Stephen. She hated that she had given the man away to bring up the past. It saddened her that the memories from Melbourne still hurt him. Don't listen to him, Stephen. He's just trying to create distance between us. Melbourne was so long ago. We care about each other. We're happy. We have 2 beautiful daughters. The man clapped his hands slowly, then faster, laughing. Bravo! Bravo! Olivia turned to him in anger. She disliked being made fun of. Why are you doing this? How do you know these things? Why go through all this trouble to learn about us? We're not famous or super wealthy. Good dodge, missus. My reasons are my own. You should control your attitude. Wouldn't want to make me angry now. One phone call could change everything for you. Be quiet, Olivia. Just listen to him, Stephen said softly. Then he asked the man, What's the address on Market Street? Which number? 100, the man replied. Do you know who has the office on the 5th floor of number 100 Market Street? No. Stephen tensed, suspecting the address meant something to him or Olivia. He glanced at her. She had gone pale, her hands gripping tightly in her lap. Stephen looked at the man in the rearview mirror. The man smiled at him with a hint of satisfaction. "What about you, Mrs.? Do you know who's on the 5th floor?" Olivia turned to look out the window, ignoring him. Strangely, he didn't push her for an answer. Instead, he chuckled in a way that felt off. Stephen turned left, searching for a place to park. It was always tough to find parking in the city, but luck seemed to be on their side, and he found a spot just a short walk from their destination. They all got out of the car. Olivia looked anxious. Stephen seemed on edge, every muscle in his body tense. Their captor handed Stephen a thick envelope. Olivia stepped back as she stared at it. Stephen looked at her with confusion. She avoided his gaze. Then, surprisingly, he gave Stephen a phone. He watched them both with amusement. "I may have more instructions for you. Don't try anything funny or act like a hero. Don't forget who has your daughters. 5th floor, number 100, he repeated. Olivia and Stephen nodded, turning together towards the office building they had to visit. "Oh no, Mrs., you're sitting this one out. Hubby gets to make this delivery all by himself." Stephen looked at Olivia with a questioning expression. She didn't meet his eyes. Once Stephen was out of earshot, the man said, "Can you guess what's in the envelope, Olivia?" She nodded, feeling defeated. "So who's been a naughty girl? Got a little too ambitious, did we? Or did you just start believing in your own excuses?" "You probably know already," she said sadly. "The deal depended on this information." The man shook his head, clearly enjoying her discomfort. "Tut, tut, tut, insider trading. You could be in major trouble. You might even face time away from home if your husband delivers that envelope to the authorities. They don't take kindly to those who break the rules." Olivia lowered her head, feeling defeated. If the contents of that envelope were what she feared, her career would be over. Life as she knew it would end. She worried about how Stephen would feel about her. What would she tell their daughters? Would Stephen support her if she faced consequences? The thought of a difficult future loomed over her. "I'll give you one phone call to convince your husband not to deliver that envelope. Can't be fairer than that, can I?" Olivia looked up, unsure if he was serious or playing with her. Hope rushed through her when he offered her the phone. She took it quickly, afraid he might change his mind. A quick glance showed she had her burner phone. She pushed back her initial wave of guilt. She looked at the man and realized that giving her the phone was not an accident. Just one rule: don't tell him I gave you this chance. Olivia took a deep breath to calm her shaking hands and dialed Stephen's number. "Hello?" Stephen sounded unsure. "Hey, it's me. Don't deliver the letter." "Olivia, I have to. He'll hurt the girls if I don't. Please trust me. Don't deliver it. Why are you putting the girls at risk? I can't ignore his orders. Stephen, please trust me. Just throw it away. He won't know." As Olivia said this, she looked at the man and flinched at the smile on his face. "What's in it that makes you so anxious that you'd risk Haley and Hannah?" he asked. "I can't tell you, but please trust me. Toss that envelope. It's really important for us." The man made a cutting gesture across his throat, hinting that time was running out. Olivia pleaded one more time. "Stephen, please believe me. Just don't deliver the envelope." She ended the call, her body shaking as she handed the phone back to the man. Her heart raced. Would Stephen do what she asked? Would he trust her to keep their girls safe? "Are you two even being honest with each other?" the man mocked. "You should think about who the real bad guy is here, you or me." Olivia turned away, feeling embarrassed by his words. They hit close to home. After a while, she dared to glance at their captor, who was pulling another phone from his vest. It was her phone. She recognized the small mark on it. He pressed buttons and she realized he was using her password. How did he know that? "Olivia!" Stephen's voice rang out loud enough for her to hear, despite the distance. "Sorry, kid. It's not her. It's your worst nightmare. When you get to the 5th floor, have someone take a photo of you handing over the envelope. Just make sure it gets done." "Okay," Stephen replied slowly. Olivia wanted to argue with him. Who would he listen to? Her or the man? She silently hoped Stephen would trust her and dispose of the envelope. He had to know she would never put their girls at risk. She prayed more desperately than she had in a long time. Time crawled by, stretching her nerves. What was taking Stephen so long? Finally, she saw him approaching. The envelope was gone. Had he discarded it or delivered it? He seemed to move slowly, looking down, avoiding her gaze. Who had he disappointed? The man held out his hand for the phone. Stephen handed it over. The man opened the photo folder. Olivia felt tight with worry. She held her breath, sending up one last anxious thought. The man showed her the phone. There was Stephen, and beside him was a woman with a big smile as she took a thick envelope. Olivia's heart sank. It felt like her world had shattered. She dropped to her knees, overwhelmed by the pain. Her hands covered her face as she sobbed quietly. "Why? Why did you do it? Why didn't you trust me?" she cried, glancing up at Stephen, tears still streaming down her face. Stephen moved closer, but the man waved him back. "Oh, what a shame. Feeling betrayed? Doesn't feel good, does it, Liv?" "Leave her alone," Stephen said firmly, ignoring the man and helping Olivia up. He held her close, offering comfort. "Ah, always the hero. Maybe that's why she doesn't respect you. Not enough edge." "I'll show you," Stephen said sharply, stepping away from Olivia. They faced off, each trying to gain the upper hand. No one nearby tried to intervene. Many just walked past them. "Think about your daughters, Stephen," the man shouted, dodging. Then, all at once, it was over. Stephen seemed to let go of his agitation. Olivia felt a chill from his frustration. "Back to the car, you two," the man ordered. "You've drawn too much attention." The car door closed behind them, and Olivia turned her head. "We've done everything you wanted. Please let us and our girls go. We won't contact the authorities. We just want to go home." "Not happening. We have another task to complete." Olivia felt defeated, unsure of what more this man could take from her. "Where to?" Stephen asked, exhausted. "Chatswood." Stephen groaned. Olivia looked at him. "Does he have something on you too? Did you do something wrong?" Her voice shook with worry. What if both of them faced serious consequences? What would happen to their girls? Stephen looked taken aback by her words. "Of course I didn't do anything wrong. If he has what I think he has, it was because of something I did that was foolish, but definitely not illegal." "What?" Olivia asked, preparing herself for bad news. "Just some careless emails about a new client who seems clueless. Tom and I can't understand how he made his money. That's all I can think of." "That's it?" Olivia visibly relaxed. "It's enough to get me fired." "Oh, good job, Stephen," the man said. "You have great reasoning skills. It's a shame they might have to let you go." Stephen abruptly cut into traffic, earning a loud honk from the car he barely avoided. He responded with an immature gesture while their captor just laughed. Stephen swerved in and out of lanes, speeding to make it through a light before it turned red. "Looks like you're in a rush," the man noted with a smirk. "Might as well get it over with," Stephen replied. Silence filled the car. The mood was tense, with Stephen and Olivia deep in thought while the man observed them. Olivia gazed out the window, feeling hopeless. The man seemed determined to ruin them. Why, she wondered. Did he work for the client Stephen had criticized? If so, this revenge felt extreme. Did it even matter in the end? They could lose their money, Stephen could lose his job, and she might be in trouble too. What about their daughters? What had happened to them and Mrs. Foster? Olivia prayed for her girls as she couldn't bear to think of them in danger. The loss of Haley and Hannah was unimaginable. Stephen felt overwhelmed. He just wanted everything to end. He longed to be home with his girls. He could deal with whatever else happened later. Crossing the bridge was always a challenge. Once on the North Shore, Stephen parked near the office building belonging to the client and turned to the man. "Who's taking the delivery?" "You know how it goes," the man said with a smirk. "Just take a photo when you hand over the documents, no tricks." He held out a phone and a thin envelope, much less bulky than the one before. "Have fun," he said, chuckling at his own joke. Olivia frowned at him. They both watched as Stephen walked toward the corner, determined. Why be so cruel? If this is about me, why involve Stephen and our girls? Olivia asked. "Everything will be explained soon," the man replied. "More mystery," she shot back. "You should learn to enjoy your work a bit more," he said with a laugh. "Enjoy?" Olivia yelled. "You think this is enjoyable?" "Calm down. You wouldn't want to provoke me, especially with your daughters involved." Olivia fell silent, fighting her instincts. Normally, she remained assertive in negotiations, putting pressure on others. Today, she felt unsteady. It felt like failure, and that wasn't something she could accept. She waited anxiously for Stephen to return. When he finally appeared, her heart sank. He looked defeated. She knew he must be feeling just as helpless and scared as she was. As a loving father and a man used to being in charge, it must be terrible not to be able to protect his children. Without speaking, he climbed into the car and handed the phone to the man. He fastened his seatbelt and placed his hands on the steering wheel, ready for the next direction. The man laughed as he reviewed the photo. "Come on, man, at least try to smile." Stephen pressed his lips together, holding back a biting response. Olivia reached over to comfort him with a squeeze on his arm. He gave her a thankful smile. "Aren't you going to ask where we're headed next?" the man teased. "You'll tell us when you're ready," Stephen replied, curt. "You're in charge," the man chuckled. "You'd be a good army officer. Even when you disagree, you still follow orders." Stephen shot a sharp glance at him through the mirror. "Yes, I know you were in the military. Not in the thick of it, though. You were safely coordinating from behind the scenes while others did the hard work." Olivia turned to her husband. He rarely discussed his past in the military. He had once mentioned losing too many friends to want to revisit that time. "My work has saved countless lives. Many successful missions relied on the details I provided. Don't mock me or the sacrifices of those who served, or you'll regret it. And if you harm my daughters, you'll wish you hadn't." The man just chuckled, unfazed by Stephen's anger. "I know, Captain, just stay calm. If you do what I say, your family will be just fine." Olivia could see Stephen was frustrated. He had every reason to be. The man's words suggested they still faced challenges before everyone would be free. She refused to consider that her family might not be safe today. To move forward, she had to keep believing. "Let's see," the man said, interlacing his fingers as if considering. "How about a little drive to the Hawkesbury River? There's a cozy B&B with beautiful views." At that moment, Olivia realized the entire day had been focused on her. She struggled to sit up straight and keep her face calm. How could he have found out? She had been so careful. No patterns, no regular days or times, no meals together or coffee breaks outside the office. She believed no one knew about her secret. No one except Logan. Logan, her partner at work, who was supposed to meet her after Stephen dropped her off at the airport. Yes, Logan. They had worked well together, closing 2 huge deals that year, deals worth a lot of money for the bank. Olivia was filled with frustration. Her job was at risk, her family was in trouble, and Stephen might lose his job too, all because of nothing. Logan meant nothing to her. He was just a small treat she allowed herself after a tough job. They both had someone else they cared for. They had shared a brief connection after their first big achievement and had seen each other when they could. It was just a momentary distraction for both of them, but now it felt like it was ruining her whole life. She couldn't understand how today's events were connected to her mistake. It couldn't have been Stephen. He was feeling hurt too, and she knew he would never want to hurt her in return. If anything, he would be sad and wondering what he had done to make her seek comfort elsewhere. She thought about the troubling call to Mrs. Foster. There was no way Stephen could have set that up. What about Logan? Could he have done this to damage her reputation for future promotions? He was certainly driven enough to hurt her if it benefited him. She found his ambition attractive. But would he put himself at risk by doing that? Then there was Logan's wife. She came from a wealthy family that could easily arrange something like this. Maybe Logan was facing a similar situation himself. Olivia clenched her jaw in frustration. Her normally sharp mind couldn't come up with answers about who was behind everything. "Have you figured it out yet?" asked the man. "What's going on, Olivia? Do you know why he's doing this to us?" Olivia was torn. Her mind told her she could still fix the situation. It wouldn't be the first time she turned a loss into a victory. She thought she could present the day's events differently and protect herself from an uncomfortable truth. Stephen wouldn't need to find out. But her heart disagreed. It told her that enough was enough. Her choices had hurt Stephen and their family more than she could have imagined. Her daughters could be affected. It was time to be honest and give Stephen the truth he deserved. "Yes, I understand. It's all my fault." "What do you mean?" asked Stephen. Olivia felt a deep sense of regret. She was to blame. Because of her, their children were affected. They had lost money, and Stephen might lose his job. None of it was his fault, and her mistakes had consequences she knew she deserved. "This is so hard. I don't know where to start," she said, hoping to find the right words for Stephen to understand and forgive her. "Is this how you handle things at work, Livy?" asked the man. "Stop dancing around and just tell us the truth." Olivia shot the man a frustrated look. Stephen waited, his hands gripping the steering wheel. "Stephen, oh no. This deal, I broke the rules. You mean you got into trouble?" interrupted the man. Olivia sighed. "Yes, I did. I got secret information about the stock. The deal depended on the client knowing, so I made sure they got it." "Just to be clear," Stephen said, "you broke the rules and put our family at risk for a deal? That sounds bad when you put it that way. But we had a chance to earn a significant bonus. I didn't think anyone would suspect." Olivia paused, noticing the look of disappointment on Stephen's face. It hurt her deeply. Thinking you can break the rules without consequences doesn't make it right. "Honesty is about doing the right thing when no one is watching," the man said, making her flinch. "And what else do you have to share?" he pressed. Olivia felt defeated, her head down and eyes closed. With a soft voice, she began, "In these deals, we work closely as a team. Each of us has skills that help the project. Logan and I led the team together. She hesitated, knowing how much her next words would hurt Stephen. In that moment, she would have given anything to avoid saying them. "We had a moment together to acknowledge our success." The car door suddenly opened. Olivia's heart raced, thinking Stephen would leave the car. But he was still there, looking at her with anger. She felt as if she had been struck. The man had vanished, leaving only his jacket behind. He'd blended into the crowd. "What? Where?" she asked, feeling lost. Looking back in the car, she noticed the man had taken the briefcase with their savings. "What's happening?" She turned to Stephen, her panic rising. "Why did he leave? He took the money. What about the girls? How can we save Mrs. Foster and the girls if he's disappeared?" "No, he didn't. He hasn't taken the money." "What? Why? But he has the girls. I'm so confused." "How does it feel, Olivia? To not know? To have everything seem unclear? To be left in the dark about things that matter so much?" "Stephen, what's happening?" Stephen didn't answer her. "Do you like feeling out of control? Do you enjoy being scared, confused, helpless? Stephen, please, what about the girls? Just tell me what's going on." "Why should I? Maybe I enjoy keeping my secrets, just like you keep yours." "What? What is wrong with you? You're not making sense." "I know about Logan Priest. I understand the deal, the insider trading, just like I know about your past connection with him when you worked on that deal. I know everything." Olivia looked at Stephen in shock. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. She thought she had been careful, but he did know. He had just said so. He knew about the other times, too. The realization hit her hard. She felt sick. She opened the car door, trying to breathe deeply. Her stomach churned, and she felt the need to expel what was inside her. She leaned out and felt a wave of nausea. Taking slow breaths, Olivia tried to calm herself. Her mind raced as she considered the fact that Stephen was involved in everything that had happened today. This felt so unlike the man she had married. But he knew everything. Why was he being so cruel? Why was he doing this to her? "You must really dislike me to have that man take the girls. Where are they? Are they safe?" "Yes, they're fine. At home with Mrs. Foster. They've been there since coming back from the zoo. They had a great time." But Mrs. Foster seemed scared. "Yes, she thought it was a joke, but I reassured her you'd understand later." "Oh my gosh," Olivia whispered. She looked at Stephen, feeling completely disconnected from the man she thought she knew. "You had that man take our money." "No, I didn't." Stephen reached into the back seat and pointed to their phones. "Check your banking app. I only took out $100. Olivia stayed still. She believed him. It was all starting to make sense. It had all been a trick. Who was he? "Just someone I know." From his tone, Olivia realized it was pointless to ask further. "What about the papers you sent to ASIC? You want to ruin me? You must really dislike me." Stephen shrugged. The envelope had blank pages. They received almost a whole ream of paper. She felt relief wash over her. She wasn't going to face trouble. So the delivery to your client was fake too? Stephen nodded. Why go to such lengths? Do you really need to ask? I don't get it, Stephen. I don't know what to think anymore. No, you probably don't. You've changed me. Congratulations. Oh, Stephen, please don't say that. I love you just the way you are. Stephen ignored her words. Do you really want to know why? Olivia nodded, although she sensed deep down that she might not like the answer. I wanted you to feel some of what I've been feeling these past months. I thought this was the only way. If I just had an affair or left you, you wouldn't understand the depth of my feelings. I needed you to know what it's like to feel lost and uncertain. You felt it for only a short time. I went through it for much longer. Oh, Stephen, I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. I didn't want you to find out. But Stephen continued, not listening to her apologies. Olivia, the worst moments of my life have involved you. Can you understand what that means? I've seen things that most people can't imagine, but what you did hurt more. Discovering that the person you love hasn't been entirely truthful is one of the hardest things to endure. When the person you've promised to love doesn't treat you well. But I didn't mean to disrespect you, and I won't let anyone else do that, Olivia said, reaching for Stephen's arm. He pulled away. I think we see respect differently. You might think hiding your actions has shown me respect. But to me, betraying my trust has hurt my feelings, broken the promises we made, and gone against what we both believed in, especially after everything that happened in Melbourne. Stephen looked out the window, filled with thoughts he wanted to share. But he realized he didn't want to spend more time going over the pain in their marriage. He had already dedicated too much of his life to this. Taking a deep breath, he decided to express everything he felt now and then to let it go. If she understood, that would be great. If not, he would move on. Living with bitterness wasn't living at all. It was like slowly drinking poison and expecting it to harm someone else. Being betrayed feels like losing a part of yourself. The first thing that was lost was our past together. What was real? What was a lie? I can't tell because I only have your word, and that has been proven false more than once. Do you know what else was lost, Olivia? Olivia shook her head, tears on her cheeks. The second loss was our future, the life we promised to share until the end. We don't have that future anymore. You took it away with every secret and every lie. We can get through this together, Stephen. You forgave me once. Please try to forgive me again. I promise it will be different this time. I've learned from my mistakes. We can start fresh if you want. Stephen shook his head. What makes you think this time will be different? You promised to be faithful on our wedding day, and yet that promise didn't last long. You made the same promise again years later, and broke it again. When someone deceives you repeatedly, it changes how you see them. Your feelings start to fade. It sneaks up on you. I tried so hard to move past what happened before. It was difficult, but I did it for you, and later for our kids. I longed to trust you again, to see the intelligent and humorous woman I fell in love with. I didn't want to see the side of you that had brought me pain. I almost succeeded in forgetting, but then I felt something wasn't right again. At first, I denied it, hoping I was wrong. But the feeling grew until I had to face it. When I looked into things, I found my worst fears were true. You were unfaithful once more. After that, I could only see the hurtful actions. I lost sight of the woman I once knew. I'm still here. I'm still the same person you married. Please, Stephen, I regret hurting you. I got caught up in a moment. I felt unstoppable. You said I had a special touch. Everything I did seemed to turn out well. This was just a mistake. It didn't mean anything to me. There were no feelings involved, just a misguided thrill. Stephen looked at her with pity. You see love and relationships differently than I do. For you, it seems like just a casual activity. But for me, any connection, whether deep or brief, creates a bond. That connection means something. It's personal. It's not just an act. I understand that's how you feel, and I admire that. But not everyone sees it that way. For some, a casual moment means something different. Don't you think part of your hurt might come from your pride? Don't you see you're angry because someone else was involved? Don't belittle my feelings by saying I'm just angry because of pride, Stephen replied sternly. What I felt for you was deeper than mere jealousy. Just because I care doesn't mean I'm shallow. In fact, from everything you've said, it seems you're the one who's lost touch with what emotions truly mean. Olivia stepped back, shocked by how intense Stephen's feelings were. She had never seen him so upset before, not even after everything that had happened in Melbourne. For the first time, she felt a sense of apprehension. The car felt tight and cramped, and things were far from settled. Well, Olivia, you're in luck. From now on, you won't need to worry about hurting my feelings anymore. You can be with whoever you want. Any guy can enjoy your company. I don't care anymore. I want a partner who shares my values. You don't. So it's time for us to part ways. But I love you. Even if you say otherwise, I know you love me too. Stephen shrugged. I used to. There was a time when I enjoyed smoking, but I stopped when I realized it was bad for me. Staying with you is just as harmful. Trusting you again would be a mistake. I've made mistakes before, but not anymore. You wouldn't be making a mistake, Stephen. You'd be loving and forgiving. I'll spend the rest of my life making this right. Seeing how much I've hurt you, I would never do that again. Stephen sighed. You don't understand, Olivia. Let me give you an example. If you had to guess the best thing we did with the girls last summer, what would it be? Olivia thought for a moment. We went to that theme park, Whitewater World. Exactly. They loved it. Going to the beach couldn't compare. That's how your actions are to me. I'm just the guy at home doing chores while you crave excitement and something new. I'm not thrilling to you anymore. I'm just ordinary. I can't compete with a fantasy. I wouldn't think that way, she said earnestly. Stephen shook his head. You're not being honest with yourself, Olivia. Can you honestly say you've never thought about those moments? Maybe when I was away? She didn't reply. He was right. She had thought about them. See? It's hard for me to lie next to you wondering who you're thinking about. It's painful beyond what you can imagine because you've never had to feel that. But Stephen, he hit his head lightly against the steering wheel in frustration. Olivia was concerned. Was he at his limit? Listen, did you learn anything today? Everything that happened was to make you feel genuine emotions. Fear, sadness, betrayal. You felt them, didn't you? I saw it. I don't know. Was it to teach me a lesson? She asked quietly. No, it wasn't punishment. It was because I felt those things for the last 8 months. I never wanted to feel them again after what happened last time, but here I am. You did that to me. Remember what you felt today. Maybe the next time someone cares about you, you'll think twice before hurting him. Oh God, Stephen, please don't give up on us. I need you. I love you. I want a future with you. It wasn't serious with him. It was just something casual. Olivia, you're saying the same thing again. It may not have meant much to you, but it did to me. Our relationship includes both of us. Do you understand that you broke my heart and our life together for what you call casual fun? That hurts me deeply. Do you want to hear some facts about relationships? Before she could respond, he continued. On average, people spend about 6 months in romantic encounters in their whole life. Women often spend more time choosing outfits. That's what you traded me for. Something that takes less time than picking out a wardrobe? Stephen shook his head. Enough. This isn't getting us anywhere. Maybe you'll never really understand. His words echoed in Olivia's mind. You don't understand. She trembled as she remembered the whirlwind of emotions. Fear, loneliness, sadness, and regret. It was agonizing. This was the pain her actions caused Stephen. Tears filled her eyes. She had hurt the one person she cared for deeply. Deep down, she had thought if he found out he would forgive her, just like last time. What a mistake that was. Stephen was right. She had disrespected him and dismissed his feelings. She had pushed him to take drastic steps to reach her and help her understand. Olivia felt panic. Her mistakes with Stephen were significant, but she truly cared for him. He couldn't let go of her or their relationship. He and their daughters were the most important things in her life. She needed to make that clear. Stephen, he raised his hand. Enough! I said enough! Checking the rearview mirror, Stephen started the car, turned on the indicator, and pulled into traffic. Do you like making deals, Olivia? He didn't wait for an answer. They both understood he wasn't asking for one. Here's the deal. You get an apartment, I get one. The girls stay at home with Mrs. Foster. It wouldn't be fair to take them away from the only home they've ever known just because you made a mistake. Olivia flinched when she heard him reflect her words back to her. From him, they sounded foolish. He continued, seemingly unaware or uncaring of her feelings. This means we will share time with the kids. 1 week with you, 1 week with me. There will be no child support or alimony. We will set up a shared account for all expenses related to the girls. No matter how we feel, we must remain respectful. I won't say anything negative about you, and I expect the same from you. If we are at the same event, we will be polite. His calm tone made Olivia uneasy. This was a side of him she had never seen. And let me be clear, Olivia, there will be no negotiation. It's take it or leave it. If you give me a hard time or try to fight this, I won't hesitate to share the truth about you. You might be fortunate that I care for our daughters. For them, I will hold back. Olivia stared out of the window, seeing nothing. She knew she was too late in realizing what she had done. She felt defeated, something she recognized well from past negotiations. Her marriage was over. She had lost. Epilogue. Olivia sat at the front of the church. She looked up at the beautiful stained glass windows. Without needing to turn her head, she knew Stephen and his wife, Lauren, were sitting at the other end of the pew. Lauren. Olivia felt a strong dislike for her. She was younger and so different from Olivia, but it wasn't just her looks or her age that made Olivia feel this way. She resented Lauren because her daughters adored her, because Stephen loved her, because he looked at Lauren the way he once looked at Olivia. Now he acted as if Olivia didn't exist, and it had been like that for over 20 years. Olivia hated that even after all this time, she still missed Stephen. She wished she could stop feeling that way. But how could she stop loving the man she had always compared others to? She disapproved of Lauren for being everything she felt she wasn't, for the way her daughters excitedly talked about her, hugging her often. They should be celebrating their real mother instead. It didn't seem fair. Hadn't Olivia shown them that women could balance family and work? Hadn't she been a model of success? Shouldn't she have their admiration and respect? So why did it seem like Lauren was the one they looked up to? Lauren, who had her own fashion boutiques, but did that really make her the right role model? Olivia felt uneasy with these thoughts. They were unfair, but it stung to feel replaced by someone else. Olivia glanced to her right at Mrs. Foster. The older woman had aged, and that brought Olivia a little satisfaction. Mrs. Foster had stayed on with the family, even though it had been years since her help was needed. As the organ music played, Olivia tried to let it calm her down. Her frustration stemmed from the news she had received yesterday. She couldn't believe her workplace had promoted someone she had mentored. She had taught that person everything, and now they took the promotion that she felt should have been hers. This was the third time in 5 years she had been overlooked, and it felt wrong. The priest's voice brought her back to the moment. Olivia couldn't understand why Haley had decided to baptize her first child, especially since they had never been regular churchgoers. Olivia could only guess that it was something Haley's husband, Jasper, wanted. Olivia tuned out the ceremony as the priest spoke on and on. Her attention sharpened when she saw Haley turn to the crowd of family and friends. For a brief moment, their eyes met before Haley looked away to focus on her father and Lauren. The priest asked Haley's parents to stand and come forward. Olivia quickly placed her purse on the floor beside her and stood up. She frowned as Lauren also stood and walked toward Haley and Jasper, holding Stephen's hand tightly. A gentle touch on her arm made Olivia look down. "Not you, dear. Haley and Jasper have asked Stephen and Lauren to be Cody's godparents," Mrs. Foster whispered softly. Feeling embarrassed, Olivia almost sat back down. She watched, surprised, as Haley gave a heartfelt speech about why she chose her father and Lauren for this special role. "Dad, you've always been a great father. All my friends envied us for having you. You knew when to be tough and when to be gentle. You always listened to us and made us feel like we mattered. When you brought Lauren into our lives, it made our family whole. Lauren, you're everything I admire in a woman. Whenever I'm confused about what to do, I ask myself, what would Lauren do? I know Hannah does the same. Your advice has never led us astray. Thank you for being you and for loving Hannah and me as if we were your own. Jasper and I both agree that if anything were to happen to us, we couldn't think of anyone better to raise our son, Cody." Tears rolled down Olivia's cheeks. They were not joyful tears, but tears of sadness and frustration. How could Haley say those things while knowing that Olivia was present? Surely she knew how hurtful her words would be. Olivia wanted to leave the room. She considered it but stopped herself, realizing that would only draw attention to her discomfort. As her emotions grew, a small voice began to speak to her. It started as a whisper but gradually got louder. "You get what you give." Memories of the past flooded Olivia's mind. She saw missed opportunities, birthdays she missed, events she skipped, and moments she chose her work over being there for her daughters. At first, it felt easier to let Mrs. Foster take care of them. It protected her from their sad looks and awkward questions about why she and their dad were often apart. Guilt pushed her away from home. Thrown into her career, she found a way to escape from her shame. The more hours she worked, the more relief she felt. It was easier to say goodnight to a sleeping child than to navigate those difficult conversations. Over time, everyone accepted this pattern. Before Olivia realized it, her daughters graduated from high school and went to university. By then, they truly didn't need her. The reality hit her hard, leaving her breathless. For most of her adult life, she had made the wrong choices. She had chosen to avoid her daughters instead of making things right. She had picked career success over family, a career that had slowly lost its spark over the past 5 years. Olivia sagged against the hard wooden pew. She felt utterly alone. Haley's words made it clear. She was not truly a mother to her daughter, just a biological contributor. Olivia could no longer ignore the truth. She had failed in the most important role of her life. Stephen, Lauren, and the girls had a strong support system, while she felt isolated. She knew she would never be part of their close-knit group. True love and support seemed forever out of her reach. She discovered that feeling defeated and lost was even harder than facing the toughest challenges. Defeat and loss lingered on, a constant reminder of what could have been. Before moving on to the second story, please let me know your opinion. Do you like the story long or short, a series or separate parts? The comments section is always welcome, and don't forget to let me know which of these 2 stories you like better. Story 2. What would a Saturday night at Lexi's be without hearing her neighbor, Tiffany, share her excitement about being swept off her feet by someone named Butch, Hunter, or Tanner? Where does she even meet these guys? Why can't they have normal names like Mike or John? As I lay there trying to think, which was hard with all the noise from next door, I realized it didn't really matter what night it was. She always seemed to be loud. I could only imagine how many visitors she had. According to Lexi, Sundays were quieter. It seemed even the most energetic people needed a day to relax and recharge. Just my luck that Sunday was the one night I didn't stay over because of my early class on Monday. I sighed. Tiffany might be attractive, but even if I didn't have feelings for Lexi, I wouldn't be interested in Tiffany. I secretly called her Squeaky because during her moments of excitement, she made sounds similar to a squeaky toy. What a way to be known. By the end, it sounded like one long squeak, with the only change being the pitch. Even Crumpet, Lexi's cat, disliked Squeaky. She would meow loudly whenever Tiffany started her noisy antics. I couldn't really blame her, but maybe I had it all wrong. Maybe Crumpet actually liked Tiffany and saw her as a long-lost friend or something. With a sigh, I rolled onto my back, feeling annoyed that my body didn't agree with my feelings. Why do things like this happen? It seemed like my body had its own ideas, completely different from what I wanted. I was tired and looking forward to a busy day of driving tomorrow, but Tiffany's loud cries were distracting. I glanced over at Lexi. Unbelievable. She was sound asleep. I couldn't help but wonder how she managed to sleep through this every night. Part of me wanted to wake her up, but I knew that wouldn't go well. Most of the time, Lexi was sweet and funny, but not in the mornings, especially not if she was woken from a deep sleep. So I had to think of other options. I could bury my face in a pillow, use earplugs, or just try to distract myself. If Lexi could sleep through all the noise, maybe I could just focus on getting some rest. Yes! 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 Tiffany screamed. Wow, she was loud. I wondered if she was pretending. After a while, the noise finally died down. I couldn't help but smirk at the situation. Feeling relieved that the noise had subsided, I rolled onto my side, cuddled up to Lexi, and drifted off to sleep. I got out of bed and paused, feeling the need to go to the bathroom. I ignored it for a moment, looking at my sleeping girlfriend. As always, she looked like an innocent angel with her blonde hair spread out around her. You would never guess how playful and feisty she could be. I loved those qualities about her, along with her kindness and sense of humor. It wasn't surprising that she was one of the top salespersons at the men's clothing store where she worked. Not only was she pretty, but she also had a way with people. We first met when I went into her store and she sold me a shirt. I was so impressed that I returned the next week and she sold me trousers. Then another shirt the week after that. Eventually, I got the courage to ask her out. We joked that she only said yes because she was running out of things to sell me. She often says my smile lights up my face. I have no idea what she means by that. I just cringe when she says it because all I can think about is an old toothpaste commercial that always gets stuck in my head. Why couldn't she say she liked my eyes or my messy black hair or maybe my intelligence? I might not be as attractive as that actor she likes from a show, but I was decent too. But no, it was always about my smile. With one last look at my sweet Lexi and a silly grin on my face, I finally gave in to my need and went to the bathroom. After taking care of everything, I returned to the bedroom to see Lexi still in deep sleep. I sighed. If I were smart, I'd be jealous of how much she loved her bed. Her features looked peaceful, and I wanted to express my affection for her, but I pushed those thoughts away. Instead, I leaned down and placed a light kiss on her forehead before grabbing my clothes and getting dressed in the lounge to avoid waking her. Once I was dressed, I checked the fridge and pantry, not surprised to find there was hardly anything. Keeping up with household chores and cooking wasn't Lexi's strong suit, which my mom never missed a chance to mention. Mom always seemed shocked that I did most of the shopping and cooking when I stayed at Lexi's, even though her store was close to several supermarkets and a bunch of specialty shops. When my mom started talking about Lexi's housekeeping skills, I usually just shrugged. I would remind her how caring Lexi was toward her grandmother, or mention how lucky I was that she tried to teach me cooking and other important skills. I made myself some toast and opened the Uber app on my phone to begin my shift. Just as I was heading out the door, with the last piece of toast in my mouth, I got a ride request from the airport to a hotel. I quickly accepted the ride and went to my pride and joy, a beautifully restored 1967 Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud 3. It was such a nice car, with its black paint, silver hood, and plush red leather interior. Though it was too nice for everyday rides, its special charm had won me many loyal customers who loved its elegance. The day went by fast, with lots of rides and not much downtime. I hadn't been able to study much during the rides, but I could catch up while Lexi was visiting her grandmother in Melbourne. I also needed the part-time income from driving to help pay my half of the next semester's fees. I pulled into my parents' driveway, feeling tired and hungry after a long day. I hoped my mom had made one of her famous pot roasts, as she was a great cook. I was in luck. Pot roast was on the menu along with her delicious potato bake, and I could smell apple pie baking in the oven. Perfect! I quickly cleaned up before taking my seat at the dinner table. "How was your day, Jamie?" my dad asked. "Good, Dad. Lots of rides and long ones, which is great for my earnings and saves on fuel." My father smiled. He believed in taking responsibility for one's own life. He always said he would match whatever I saved for my car or school fees, but he wouldn't just give me things easily. He felt that working hard for what you had helped you appreciate it more. When I saved up for my old Rolls-Royce, my mom thought I was nuts, but Dad kept his promise and helped me with half the cost. He even spent many Saturdays helping me fix it up. Now it was worth much more than we spent on it. Lexi sometimes joked that my car was my other love, but she was excited to ride in such a classy vehicle. Dinner talks were as usual, and once I finished eating, I excused myself to call Lexi. I didn't want to let a day go by without hearing her voice. "Hey, how was your day?" I asked. "Good. Lots of rides. What about you?" "Not much. Just had a nice day." Lexi told me about a new movie she watched, and I got a little lost as she talked about how captivating it was. "Are you sure you don't want to ride to the airport in the morning? I have time before my class," I offered. "No, I'll be okay. I should start packing now," she replied. I frowned. She had all day to pack, yet she waited until now. I opened my mouth to say something, but decided against it. I didn't want our last conversation before her trip to end on a bad note, especially since we had disagreed recently. "Okay, bye. See you at the end of the week. Take care." I wanted to express my feelings, but she hung up before I could. I sighed, trying to push aside my annoyance. She was probably feeling under pressure with everything she had to do before her trip. The next morning, the sound of an incoming message woke me as sunlight filled my room. I rubbed my eyes, upset that I forgot to mute my phone the night before. Thinking it might be Lexi about the airport ride, I reached for my phone. Instead, it was a message from Uber asking for drivers since they were busy. After checking the time, I responded that I was available for about 3 hours. Their thanks came through quickly, along with a message for my first ride from the city to the airport. In less than 10 minutes, I got ready, used the bathroom, put on clothes, packed my school bag, brushed my teeth, and grabbed my car keys. I left a note for my parents, took some muesli bars, and filled my water bottle. As I drove through the quiet suburban streets toward the city, I thought about my time as an Uber driver. I really enjoyed it and had gotten familiar with the area. Plus, I met many interesting people, some who could help me later with my engineering career. One passenger even explained a topic to me which helped me get a high grade on a related essay. He insisted I not pay for the ride and generously tipped me, leaving his business card as well. With the streets quiet because of the early hour, I made it to the hotel quickly. Parking in the designated pickup area, I sent a quick text to my client through the Uber app to let him know I was ready. 10 minutes went by and I was starting to lose hope when a guy, looking a bit stressed, came out. He scanned the area, searching for someone. I stepped onto the sidewalk. "Are you Stephen Cummings?" His face lit up with a relieved smile. "That's me. Sorry for the wait. Checkout took longer than I thought." "No problem. Let me help you with that," I offered, taking hold of his suitcase and heading to the back of my car. I preferred to put luggage in the trunk rather than on the back seat to avoid any marks on the upholstery. "Nice car," Stephen said as he settled into the back seat and reached for the seatbelt. He sighed, leaning back, eyes closed. "Rough day ahead?" I asked. "The worst. We lost an important project to a competitor, and now I have to tell the board. I really hope they don't blame me since I designed it." "That's tough. Yeah, it means no end-of-year bonus, and my wife was really looking forward to a cruise." "Don't lose hope. Miracles can happen." Even I could hear how weak that sounded. Stephen fell quiet, appearing to doze off as I focused on the busy traffic. "Stephen, we're almost at your stop." He blinked awake and looked around. "Wow, that was fast." I parked behind a taxi, shifted gears, and engaged the handbrake. I met Stephen at the back of my car. "Hey, if you don't mind me saying, I've been thinking about your situation. If I were you, I'd make one last pitch. Maybe reach out to the boss and ask if they really considered everything your design offers. Emphasize your strengths and explore if there's any room for adjustments. You have nothing to lose by trying again." Stephen studied me for a moment. "You're not like any taxi driver I've met." I grinned. "That's because I'm with Uber." A smile spread across Stephen's face. "Well, you've given me some excellent advice. I'm going to take it." I nodded, still smiling. "It's not over until it's truly over, right?" "Right." I watched him walk into the terminal, noticing he seemed a bit lighter on his feet. I turned to my phone, searching for my next ride. Just as I was starting to frown, a new job popped up. Perfect! A fare from the terminal to Randwick, close to the university. I quickly accepted the job. It was a short drive, and I was pleased to see a man waiting at the pickup spot. I rolled down my window. "Richard Stroker?" "That's me." I left the car running, got out, and took his suitcase, heading to the back of my car. "Looks like you're here for a while," I said, noticing the size of his luggage. "Yeah, I'm here for a week with someone I met at a conference. I guess I packed a bit much." He laughed. I raised an eyebrow at his bluntness. "Good for you," I said dryly. A glance at his face told me he didn't catch my sarcasm, which was just as well. No need to lose a fare over it. Maybe the woman he mentioned wasn't looking for anything serious either. "Mind if I sit up front? I prefer it there." "Sure," I replied, hoping he wouldn't talk too much. No such luck. "This car is awesome. I can't believe I'm riding in a Rolls." "Thanks," I said, trying to keep it simple. "So, I met this girl." "Sorry to interrupt, Richard. Call me Rich." "Okay. Rich, what street in Randwick?" "Let me check." He pulled out his phone. "Carrington Road." "Great. I know it well." "Anyway, I met this girl at a seminar last month. I was new to the company, so it was my first one, but she has been to a few." A colleague introduced me to her. I was about to tune him out, but paused. Last month, Lexi had attended a convention there, too. It was probably just a coincidence. She seemed sweet, but dressed differently. She looked really attractive, and once I got her back to my room, it was clear she was eager for attention. Part of me wanted to ignore him, but something made me keep listening. We barely got through the door when she started getting close. Later, after we spent some time together, she mentioned how it had to be a one-time thing because she had a boyfriend in Sydney who couldn't know what she was doing in Melbourne. Just then, his phone beeped with a message. I thought to myself that Melbourne must be a popular place to visit. Lexi went there every long weekend to see her grandma. "Excuse me," he said with a smirk as he checked his phone. Like I said, she was really into it, just like she is now. She's asking if my flight got in on time and says she's waiting for me in her favorite pajamas. He laughed. She won't have to wait long. I felt sickened by his arrogance. This guy clearly thought he was amazing. In fact, I plan to make the most of her being alone this week. She's going to have a memorable time. Doesn't it bother you that she's in a relationship? That she's being unfaithful? He just shrugged. Not my place to judge. If she wasn't with me, she'd be with someone else. Besides, I've heard she's been with a lot of guys at work, so why shouldn't I enjoy it? She's clearly very social, if you know what I mean. Lucky you, I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. Absolutely. I hope she's ready for the week. I coughed a little, startled by how direct he was. Did I surprise you? He asked, laughing. I nodded and avoided his gaze. His comments were beyond what I considered normal conversation. Hey, it's just guy talk, right? Sure, whatever you think, I replied. He nodded, still amused. I'm even hoping she invites her neighbor over to join us. I hear the neighbor is a little wild, too. Just imagining a fun week with two attractive girls makes it hard to focus on work. A wave of unease filled me as I thought about what he said. I tried hard not to let my mind race. I struggled with thoughts about 3 years of love and trust with Lexi, battling with signs that felt more than mere coincidences. Could she really be unfaithful? My heart sank. We were happy, weren't we? Planning to get married soon. The loyal part of me wanted to believe she would never betray me, but a more logical part began to notice changes since her last trip to Melbourne. She had gone from affectionate to distant, and her mood shifted often. Each time she returned from Melbourne, I noted changes in her behavior. I had explained them away before, thinking she was just worried about her grandma. Then, the conversation took a turn that shattered my thoughts. Her nickname around here is Flexi Lexi because she's really adaptable. She surprised me the last time we were together. The sound of this statement echoed in my mind like a loud train passing by. I felt a sudden tightening in my chest, making it hard to breathe. Years later, I'd wonder how I managed to keep driving. We're almost there, Rich. What street number? My voice sounded unusual, but he seemed unfazed, checking his phone again. Number 28, Unit 7. Every doubt I had about Lexi's loyalty vanished. Confusion and hurt flooded me. Why would she do this? I was supportive and loving. I was close to finishing my degree, which would lead to a promising career. We were supposed to build a future together. I felt like turning the car around, but the urge to see the truth kept me moving forward. It was a strange, painful pull, and I didn't understand it. Maybe it was a need to know for sure what was happening so I wouldn't live in uncertainty. But deep down, I feared that once I knew, I couldn't unsee what I was about to discover. I couldn't let her deceive me with her false assurances. I was aware that her explanations would be persuasive, but I wasn't going to give in easily. Okay, I can get you there in about 5 minutes, I said, surprised that I could talk at all with the anger building inside me. Dick didn't respond. A quick glance told me why. He was busy texting. I didn't catch all of it, but I saw enough to feel unsettled. I parked the car and turned off the engine. I got out, walked to the back of the car, and grabbed Dick's suitcase. Here, let me help you with that. I'm curious about this blonde you keep talking about. Can I get a glimpse of her to help me through my boring shift? Dick chuckled. Sure, man. Go ahead and take a look. Thanks. I tried to smile, hoping it looked genuine. Lead the way. Dick walked confidently with his laptop bag over his shoulder, strutting up the path to the apartment building. I followed with his suitcase, and if looks could hurt, he'd be in trouble. But maybe he was right. If he wasn't the issue, it would be someone else. If what he said was true, there had been a lot of guys before him. Lexi's apartment was on the second floor. I had to hold myself back while Dick figured out how to work the old elevator. With every second that went by, my discomfort turned into cold anger. It wasn't a hot, destructive kind of anger. It was icy and quiet, spreading through me, cooling the confusion and sadness. I preferred the icy anger as it felt stronger and more empowering than the hurt. The elevator creaked, and Dick mumbled under his breath. I remained silent, waiting. When the doors opened, Dick sighed. This thing should be in a museum. Just another reason to not leave her apartment all week. He looked left and right, and I had to stop myself from pointing him in the right direction to Lexi's door. Finally, we were walking the right way. At Lexi's door, I couldn't help but feel amused. Dick fixed his hair and straightened his clothes as if he was preparing for a big moment. I half expected him to check if he looked okay. He knocked 3 times on her door, and the last knock had barely faded when I heard her voice. "Coming!" I could hear the excitement in her voice even through the door. The wait felt long, but it was only a few moments. I stood slightly aside as the door opened, revealing Lexi looking a bit over the top in a light, wispy outfit. To Dick, she might have looked appealing, but to me she just seemed ridiculous. "Hey there," she said, looking at Dick. I stepped into her view. "I've been waiting." Lexi's expression changed in a flash. She looked shocked. "What?" Dick asked, confused, looking between Lexi and me. "Let me help you, Lexi. You've been hoping for a chance to spend time together. Am I right? Seems to fit, doesn't it?" Dick looked puzzled. "Dude, what?" As if in slow motion, one of Lexi's hands flew to cover her mouth while the other one reached for me. "Thank you, Lexi. I'd like the engagement ring I gave you back, since trust is gone now." I took her hand, slipped the ring off her finger, and put it in my pocket. I gave her a smile that she once claimed to love before stepping back. "I've taken up enough time. I'll leave now and let you two enjoy your time together. Have fun." As I turned to leave, I heard Dick asking Lexi who I was and what was happening. She mumbled something I couldn't understand. Good. I hoped she felt regret. I wanted her to feel the weight of her choices. I reached my car, surprised by how calm I felt. It was surreal. One day I was happily planning a wedding in just a few months, and the next, I was single. I thought I was loved, only to realize I had been deceived. I wouldn't know how her feelings changed, and after everything, I didn't want to ask. Could I even trust anything she said? I got in the car and put it in gear. After a last glance over my shoulder, I drove away. I heard my name called. "No," shouted. In the mirror, I saw Lexi running after me, tears on her face. I managed a grim smile. I liked her best out of sight, in my rearview mirror. Weeks went by, and Lexi followed what I came to think of as the cheater's guidelines. She called me and sent me a lot of messages. She filled my inbox with emails and contacted my family, trying to get them to convince me to talk to her. She expressed her concerns about the cancellation fees and the deposits that her parents were upset about. I ignored everything. The fact that neither her mother nor father reached out to me, or my parents, made it clear they suspected why I suddenly broke off the engagement with someone who used to be so important to me. My mother seemed as upset as I was. Even though Lexi wasn't the perfect partner, my mom still cared for her. She had grown attached to all my girlfriends, seeing them as the daughters she never had. Lexi was no different. Surprisingly, despite her feelings, Mom never pressured me to listen to Lexi or to forgive her. The most she said was that for my own peace of mind, I might need to talk to Lexi one day to find some closure. I believed actions spoke louder than words, and returning the engagement ring was enough of a final message about my relationship with Lexi. Thoughts of revenge crossed my mind. I didn't wish her any terrible fate, but I wanted her to have a long journey filled with reflection on her choices. I hoped she would encounter moments of sadness and disappointment, longing for what she had let go. I imagined her being let down again and again by others in her life. I pictured the look of surprise and hurt on her face if she ever saw someone she cared about with someone else. Oddly, it was never me she was with in those scenarios. When I woke from dreams of her feeling remorse for what she had done to us, I smiled without guilt. Karma, I thought. Karma will eventually come back to her. Following my mother's suggestions about closure, something I found hard to believe in, I agreed to meet Lexi for coffee. As I stirred sugar into my drink, I looked around the small cafe, content with where we were meeting. Just as I raised my cup to take a sip, Lexi walked in. I couldn't help but feel annoyed. She had already disrupted my moment. She stopped at the entrance, scanning the room. When she finally saw me, she beamed one of those big smiles. I looked for any signs of worry, but she seemed completely calm. Maybe she thought that a pretty smile and a nice outfit would win me back. I barely contained a smile of my own, realizing she had chosen each piece of clothing to show off her looks. But to my surprise, I felt little attraction to her anymore. Her choices had erased years of feelings in a flash. Instead of seeing the charm and beauty I once admired, I now saw selfishness. It was as if I had picked a ripe apple only to find it was rotten inside. I had completely lost my desire for her. If she had been courteous, I would have stood up and offered her a chair. Instead, I stayed seated, avoiding her attempt for a hug. She brushed against me, clearly trying to draw me closer. I shook my head, realizing she didn't seem to grasp the situation. It was her past actions that had led to this moment, and that was no way to win someone back. Thank you for meeting me, Jamie. I've missed you so much. There's a lot I need to say, Lexi exclaimed. I held back a cringe. For a moment, I thought about turning around and leaving. My mom was convinced I would be glad I gave Lexi this chance, that I would finally find peace. But I really doubted Lexi would be honest with me. I'm here. I'm listening. I don't have much time, so please just say what you need to say, I replied. I couldn't help but feel a bit satisfied when I saw her face fall. I really wanted to put this behind me. Please don't say that, Jamie. I know we're meant to be together, she pleaded. Really? I asked, but she continued without waiting for my response. It just hit me. Our wedding was only 3 months away, and I hadn't really let loose. A friend of mine said it was better to enjoy life now while I was still young. I didn't mean for you to find out. I thought if you didn't know, it wouldn't hurt you. But I do love you. I want to spend my life with you. She was suggesting that her recent choices were some kind of first-time mistake, which made me even angrier. Even now, she wasn't being truthful. Really? You think that adding someone else into the mix shows love? Do you think if someone caught their partner being unfaithful, the response would be understanding simply because they were young? I'll just be with him while you're away. Don't worry, I'll keep it quiet. Is that too complicated for you? Think about your favorite Twilight character, Bella Swan. Would Edward have been okay if he found her with Jacob and she said, "Don't be upset. I was only with him while you were away. So please, don't underestimate my understanding by talking about love and fate." Lexi continued with her usual excuses. I kept track of them in my mind. I came up with responses, but Lexi stuck to her story, ignoring anything that didn't support her view. If she hadn't been so focused on defending herself, she might have realized how calm I was. You hurt me, Lexi. No matter how you explain it, you were unfaithful. You went behind my back. You made a choice that changed everything between us. Calling it a mistake doesn't really capture the pain of what you did. It feels like comparing it to something trivial. I used to think it was innocent, but now I see it for what it really is. The more I think about it, the more I dislike that term. Who decided on words like mistake anyway? Probably someone who didn't want to be honest, someone who thought harsh words like deceit or betrayal were too severe. What? I didn't do anything that serious. You didn't hurt someone. You hurt something. I've listened to your excuses long enough. If I believed you, what you did was just like taking something without asking. If I didn't know, I wouldn't have felt bad. But what you did is far worse than that. You destroyed our future, our plans, and our dreams. You lied to the person you said you cared about. You let me down. You went against what we had. Remember when it was us against the world? You turned your back on that, and because of that, you ended what we shared. So yes, you caused the end of us. I leaned back and watched her response carefully. I meant every word and could have said more. I could have confronted her on the details. She had been unfaithful for much longer than she admitted. But it didn't matter to me. Betrayal is betrayal, whether it's one time or many. Watching Lexi's face was like watching a scene in a sad movie where someone transforms into a melancholic figure. Her expressions shifted quickly. First, she showed shock, then fear, pain, guilt, shame, and finally despair. When her face fell to devastation, it was clear it was too hard for her to accept. I knew that would be the case, but I would always remember the moment she realized the weight of what she had done. "No," she whispered, her face showing sadness. "No." I stayed quiet, taking in her discomfort. My anger was deep and matched the hurt she caused me. You don't feel that kind of anger without experiencing profound pain first. Sadly for Lexi, my anger had entirely overshadowed the affection I once felt for her. "No," she said again. "You have to forgive me. You have to give me another chance." "No, I don't. Please, Jamie, please don't give up on me, on us. I promise I won't do it again." I didn't even bother to explain why I couldn't trust her anymore, or how she was the one who let go of what we had. Those words wouldn't matter now. After having my moment of watching her face fall, I just wanted to leave. Sure, she would recover her spirit in a bit, and she may never fully understand the depth of disappointment she handed me, but I hoped that deep down, the truth would always linger in her mind. "I don't know, Lexi. You hurt me a lot. I need time to think. Call me in a week or two. Maybe we could be friends someday." She waited 4 days. I clenched my teeth but agreed to meet for coffee. I'm not sure why. Maybe it was pride or the need to feel better after everything. Seeing her feel bad was comforting in a way. She got there first and even bought me coffee. As expected, she dressed up, but it did not impress me. I forced a smile and let her talk nervously about her week while trying to catch my eye. When she asked about me, I kept my answers short. I kept one hand on my cup and the other in my lap. When she finally reached for my hand, I let her for a moment before I pulled it back. Even though I appreciated her effort to make things right, it felt difficult to sit there with her. When I looked at her, I didn't see beauty anymore, only disappointment. I struggled to stay put. After 30 minutes, my last sip of coffee was almost cold. Looking at my watch, I stood up. "I have to go now. See you later, Lexi." "Wait," she said as she stood up. "There's a Humphrey Bogart movie series at the Palace Verona Cinema next week. I thought you might want to go since I know you like those films." "I'll think about it. Call me in a few days and I'll let you know." It was true. I enjoyed the old black and white movies and classics too. My dad got me into them. He had a big collection of films. Bogart, Cary Grant, and Gregory Peck were just a few. It was a bit awkward how many times we'd watched movies like The Maltese Falcon or North by Northwest together. "Okay, love you," she called after me as I walked away. I didn't turn back or reply. I surprised myself when I agreed to go when she called a few days later. I felt like a moth drawn to a flame. I didn't really like her, but needed her attention to feel better. At least in a movie theater, I wouldn't have to see her during the film. She picked Wednesday for our outing and was vague about which Bogart film we'd see, which made me curious. I checked the cinema's website and had to laugh. She picked Sabrina. They were showing a different Bogart film each night. If we had gone on a different evening, we could have seen Casablanca, The Maltese Falcon, or The Big Sleep. Those were definitely more my style. I rolled my eyes as I shut my laptop. What did she think? That I'd watch Bogart fall for Audrey Hepburn and suddenly want to propose to her again? She wanted me to pick her up, but I told her I'd meet her outside the cinema at 6:45. She didn't like it. Knowing it was tough to find parking near Oxford Street, I decided to take the bus. It would mean leaving campus straight away and arriving a bit early, but there was always plenty to see and do there. At 6:45, I strolled to the cinema. As expected, Lexi was already there. I smiled. She was usually not this on time. "Where did you park?" she asked after hugging me, which I didn't return. She leaned in, but I turned my head slightly. I didn't park. "I came straight from school on the bus." "Oh," she said, looking a bit let down. "I was hoping for a ride home after the movie since I took the train here." "Well, you know what they say, Lexi," I said, raising an eyebrow. "Never assume, or you make an ass out of you and me." She attempted a smile, but it didn't really work. "Shall we go in?" Lexi nodded and reached for my hand, but I slipped my hands into my pockets. She didn't like it when I let her pay for her own ticket. I didn't feel guilty about it. Technically, she had asked me out, and she had a full-time job while I was just a student. 10 minutes into the movie, I knew I had made a mistake agreeing to see it with her. I spent the whole time trying to avoid her. She tried holding my hand and sharing popcorn, but I missed most of the film. If Lexi was frustrated at the start, by the end, she was really impatient. Watching her irritation was oddly soothing. "Okay, thanks, and see you around," I said as the credits started rolling. "What? Aren't you going to walk me to my bus stop?" she asked. "No, I have to catch my next bus from a different stop. If I miss it, I'll have to wait a long time for the next one. Besides, you're an adult." "We could grab a bite to eat," she suggested hopefully. "No, I have some studying to do. Bye." I smiled a bit, not at her, but at her disappointed look. It was another little win for me. I turned and walked away. The moment I stuffed my laptop into my backpack, my phone rang. I groaned. It was Lexi calling. The song was catchy and almost made me feel guilty. It was my ringtone for her now, taking over from the sweet love song she had chosen before. I debated answering, but decided to let it go to voicemail. I wasn't in the mood for more of her requests to see her. I had studying to focus on, and I wouldn't let my hard work slip away because of her. Studying to be an engineer had taught me to manage my time well. I would deal with Lexi's attempts to reconnect later. Finally, my shoulders relaxed after 2 weeks of stress. My last exam was done. No more essays or studying for tests. I wouldn't know my results for a while, but I felt good about my performance. I had put in the effort. I shouldered my backpack and headed to the pub where I had planned to meet some friends and celebrate finishing our studies. The afternoon breeze felt nice against my slightly sweaty face. The hall had been hot and stuffy with so many students. 250 young and nervous people were too much for the old air conditioning system to handle. I could hear the sounds of celebration before I even got to the pub. The song "Another Brick in the Wall" by Pink Floyd floated through the air. "We don't need no education. We don't need no thought control," I chuckled to myself. The students sang about not needing education, but they had all paid a lot for it. My dad often said there's no such thing as a free education in Australia. I found myself singing along as I stepped inside. When I got to the bar to order my first drink, I noticed some movement out of the corner of my eye. I turned to see if it was someone I knew. It wasn't, but the girl was attractive, so I kept looking for a moment. She turned and smiled at me. "Better watch it. If you look any longer, you may have to buy me a drink." "How about I buy you 3 then, 'cause I could be here a while." "Quick," she laughed. "I like a guy who can think fast. I'm Stella." "Jamie, what are you drinking?" "Pear cider." I ordered our drinks, and we started chatting. Stella seemed vaguely familiar, and after comparing our classes, we figured out we'd shared a few lectures. She was studying to be an architect while I was studying civil engineering. She had just 1 year left, poor thing. She invited me to join her and her friends, so with drinks in hand, we made our way through the crowd. Stella looked just like I thought a Stella would look. I admit, I had a picture in my head from watching a show with a strong female character named Stella. Both of them were about the same height, but that was where the similarities ended. Stella was not serious like the TV character. Instead, she laughed easily and often. She was smart, which made her even more appealing. As I laughed at one of Stella's funny stories about a quirky teacher, I felt a hand on my arm. I turned, expecting to see one of my friends. Instead, I was surprised to see Lexi. I couldn't help but feel disappointed. She looked furious, but I noticed a brief flash of hurt on her face. It was there and gone quickly. "What are you doing, Jamie? You turned down my invite for dinner and a night out to talk with—" She paused, glaring at Stella. "With whoever that is?" "Yes, it was an easy choice, if I'm honest." "How can you be so unkind? If you hadn't ended things, we'd be getting married next week. Instead of working things out, you're talking to other girls? Hey, at least I waited until I was single, unlike someone else in this conversation." Stella and her friends fell silent, likely feeling uncomfortable about the scene. "Go home, Lexi. I don't want to celebrate with you. I want to celebrate with friends who are honest and supportive, not trying to hurt me." I watched as Lexi went red from embarrassment, almost like a tide rushing in. "How could I? With a final gasp, she turned around and hurried away through the crowd, leaving people staring after her. Taking a deep breath, I faced Stella and her friends. "I'm really sorry about that, ladies. If I thought saying sorry would fix things, I was wrong. Within 10 minutes, they asked all about the situation and shared their sympathies, offering me more drinks. By the end of the night, Stella placed me into a taxi, but not before she slipped her phone number into my shirt pocket. After Lexi's betrayal shattered my plans, I felt lost leading up to Christmas. What should have been a time for last-minute arrangements, a wedding and a honeymoon had turned into driving around in an Uber. I couldn't believe how many people I drove who had come to Sydney for last-minute Christmas shopping. Were they crazy? Why deal with traffic and crowds when they could shop online? Both Lexi and Stella called me. I was honest with them. Stella was okay with it. Lexi was not. Lexi pleaded for me to visit her on what would have been our wedding day. My mom overheard our conversation. Forgiving her doesn't mean you have to like what she did or even stay friends. It's about letting go of the anger and hurt you feel inside. It's about freeing yourself to move on. I'll think about it, Mom, but telling Lexi I forgive her might just push her to try harder to win me back. She can be very persistent. My mother nodded. Even if you do forgive her, you don't have to say it out loud. Forgiveness is for you, not for her. Christmas came and went, then New Year's arrived. I had a couple more coffee dates with Lexi and even bought her a Christmas card. The message was generic, but she lit up when I gave it to her. I wanted to leave when she put a gift-wrapped box in front of me. She had bought me a watch. It was a nice watch, looked expensive with all the features, but I knew I wouldn't wear it. I could see her disappointment when I thanked her but didn't put it on. She invited me to celebrate the new year together, but I decided not to go. I sent out some job applications, but there weren't many since it was January. Many engineering firms in the city were closed until mid-January. To keep busy, I drove around and enjoyed the fact that my bank account was doing well. Lexi kept calling during February and March. I had to admit she was determined. If I ever felt down, which happened often, I would agree to meet her. Nothing fancy, usually just a coffee or a movie. Stella also kept in touch, but that was more enjoyable. She had a great sense of humor. One of our recent outings was really memorable. It was St. Patrick's Day on March 17th. The Irish community was celebrating, and we joined in. Everyone wore green and pretended to have Irish accents, with four-leaf clovers and leprechauns everywhere. Even the beer was dyed green, and I had green mashed potatoes with my meat pie. What did Stella make me do? Dress up as a character from a children's book, that's right. While everyone else was in green, I was running around in blue jeans and a red and white striped shirt, a beanie, and some goofy glasses. It seemed like she had paid people at each pub we visited to notice me. Someone would always shout, "Where's Wally?" Then someone else would grab my arm and say, "Here's Wally!" It was silly, but we got quite a few free drinks out of it, and the walking stick I carried was useful. I later heard that Lexi was speaking poorly about me, telling anyone who would listen that I was leading her on and trying to make her jealous. That made me really upset. Suddenly, I felt compelled to confront her. "Lexi, I need to talk to you. It's important." "Sweetie, I'm always here for you." I didn't like how she called me sweetie. It felt insincere, especially after what she had been saying about me, but I pushed on. "Can we meet tomorrow? Sunday? The 1st at 11? "Sure, I can't wait. I'll have coffee and your favorite muffins ready." "Awesome. See you then," I said and hung up. When I parked in front of Lexi's building, I took a moment to prepare. I took a deep breath and then walked across the street feeling a bit lighter. Life was good. Lexi opened the door after my first knock. Good thing I was quick, otherwise I might have bumped into her. "Come in! It's great to see you!" The smell of fresh coffee and apple muffins filled the air. Life was definitely looking good. After we settled at her dining table with coffee and muffins, I said, "You won't believe this, Lexi. You were the first person I thought of when I heard the news." "Oh, really? What happened?" "Some time ago, I gave a guy named Stephen Cummings a ride. He was upset because his company lost a big contract, and I gave him some encouragement." I watched Lexi's face. She was interested. Guess what? He took my advice, and his company won back the contract. "That's amazing, Jamie." She sounded a bit surprised, probably thinking it wasn't a big deal. "It gets even better. The company he works for has offices in Sydney, Melbourne, and, get this, New York and London." "Have they offered you a job?" "Yes, they have. I was genuinely happy." "Is it here in Sydney?" "Nope." She pressed me for more details. "Where?" Melbourne? Try again. It's London. Oh, wow! Stephen is the head engineer and he wants me to help him with a bridge they're building just outside London. The project will take a year and they will pay for my flights and stay. They are even covering costs for Stephen's family to join him. Oh, wow, she repeated. It's just like we always dreamed, living and working in England. Europe will be so close. Just think of all the places we could visit. The Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, Amsterdam, Venice, Florence, and Madrid. And Paris. The Champs-Élysées, Lexi said, looking thoughtful. Plus, there's the famous beer hall in Munich and the Parthenon in Rome. And all the famous castles and cathedrals. I smiled. Lexi was really getting into it. We had talked about these places so many times before. And let's not forget the food. I chuckled. I can already taste a nice croissant or maybe one of those fruity pastries. Oh, yes. They have so many delicious foods, Lexi said, her excitement growing. There are also British dishes I can't wait to try, like bangers and mash or a hearty pie. And I want to see the Tower of London. Yes, and the Portobello Road Market and the one at Camden. London is meant to be amazing for shopping. I smiled as if I agreed. When do we go? How soon should I let my job know? Excuse me? When do we go? Lexi asked again. Oh, there's no we, Lexi, just me. I'm the one who gets to enjoy it. But I thought, you were excited to tell me. The smile that Lexi liked so much was huge and bright, almost like it could light up all of Manhattan. April Fools, Lexi. In a way, my wishes for Lexi came true. She did find out that both of her husbands were not loyal. One was with someone she thought was a friend, and the other was with a co-worker of his. Luckily, there were no kids involved, so there were no broken families. Now she is on husband number 3. As for me, yes, I lived and worked in Europe for a few years. No, I didn't fall in love and marry Stella, but we are still great friends today. I met and married a lovely woman from England, though she would get upset if I called her that since she is actually Scottish. Do you know when we got married? You guessed it, April Fool's Day. Hey, audience! If you like this video and want to keep up with more thrilling stories, make sure to subscribe to Prince Cheating Tales and hit the notification bell. You don't want to miss out on our upcoming adventures. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next wonderful story.